Sourcing Podcast with your hosts, Martin and Adam. Hello, Martin.
Hello, Adam. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, too. Hope everything is well. And I hope that everything's going well with the campaign that you were part of to help your son's
Oh,
friend.
that was really amazing. It's almost 160,000 euro, which came
Oh,
together
well,
for those kids. This is amazing. This is really most expenses will be covered by this, so I'm really really happy.
yeah.
Many people, more than 3,000 people
Well,
donated.
sounds like a whole community
Yeah,
coming together to help out in that horrible situation. So I'm
yeah,
very happy to hear that. And uh, we basically gave what we made in the last workshop
yeah.
for to this cause. And I think if they need any more help, this is something that we could do as part of giving back to communities and people in need in 2026.
Yeah,
I
happy to
think
do so. Absolutely.
yeah, with all the success that you're having, that we're having, that event modeling community is having, it's nice to be able to be in a position to help. So I'm
And this
happy
was
about that.
Yeah, and this was one of the very rare occasions I asked the community for help. I also posted on LinkedIn and I really asked for help. I almost never do that unless it's really really important, and a lot of people donated. So I'm
Yeah,
really grateful.
exactly. And I mean, of course, you could go bankrupt and broke by trying to help everyone in the whole world. But what's important is that you look after the people you have contact with and your
Yeah,
community and your family, etc. So this was, something that I'm happy to help with, and hopefully I won't have the same reasons to do something like this, but it's nice to be able to step up and do it.
yeah, and it's
So
always nice to know there is a community that can step up and help in case there
yeah,
is real need. That is really really nice.
yeah. So again, I think we'll continue to leave the links there as the goal has not been met yet.
Yeah,
And so if you want to also give back, if like Martin said, if anything that we've said or taught you or information that helped you from the community or people you met, and you're better off for it. The only thing we ask for is that you go help out people in need, and that's all. So, anyway, how's your first? Um, I guess a few days back. We only had one day really
yeah.
of work, quote unquote.
So
Did you do
actually,
anything for that Friday or no?
yeah, Friday was my first working day, so I was very much looking forward to get back into business after a few days off. And actually, it was quite busy. It was quite a busy day. I didn't expect that, so I expected it to be a very calm day. But unfortunately, a lot of customers reached out, and there seems to be budgets available, so they need help. They want me to help, and we're already in negotiations with a few new clients, which is
That's
amazing.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Likewise, I think I worked on the event modeling .ai or product, and got the swim lanes looking pretty good. So that's one
Nice.
major aspect that's not going to be
Nice.
a pain out of aligning things
Yeah.
with Miro. So also part of that work was really adding more of a structure to, people have been asking for an event modeling standard. I think what's happening is that through this exercise of automating and writing the book, that standard is naturally aggregating the concerns of the community as to what to include and what not to include.
Yeah.
Interesting thing popped up was that do we need arrows, or is there a better way to display that?
Yeah. Good topic.
You look at the event model behind me, and you don't. I mean, you can sort of see the gray arrows, but you get the gist of what's going on. And like I said before, there's been event models that we've done once we know event modeling really well and we've practiced it. We focus on the data so much so that we don't bother with the arrows, at least with some of that. Now, that doesn't mean we won't have them. I just think that there is a shift in priorities to get the important pieces out. And if we build the core for the people that are experts in event modeling, and then layer on the accessibility, The core will be something that's future proof, because as you drive through the experience curve of using something, you really want that to be a tool that continues to be better and better the more experience you have with
Yeah.
the practice. Not, oh, this is easy to use, I can start right away. And when you're getting into real projects and months into work, you're like, oh, this was a horrible mistake. Now I must change the tool.
Yeah.
So we want the opposite of that. And we discussed a few things last time when we were talking. Like FreeCAD was a good example of that because it looks kind of intimidating at first, and it has the easy features which I didn't use, but I could have. It has the regular basic shapes that you can just drag and drop onto your
Yeah.
canvas and make a cube, make a sphere, use Boolean operations to construct something. But it's not parameterized, which means that if you have something that you need to change, as in designs we often do, and it's one of the first things you added, you got to dig out that initial set of shapes and other things and manually see what influences what. And that's a lot of work. So
Yeah.
that's a good example of tooling that's built with the accessibility features, but the core features are there for the power users when you're going to be, I made a decision that I'm going to be using FreeCAD for any kind of design work for projects, etc., which I'll get onto next because I got I caught the fever from you last time, and I got the Raspberry Pi for my home center
Very nice.
just a couple of days ago. It came in, actually, maybe
Nice.
even yesterday. So we'll talk about that. But yeah, does that make sense to you in terms of like the mindset
Yes.
for tooling? Yeah,
Absolutely, absolutely. So I think it's really important to keep it simple, um, cover the basic needs in the tooling, and if you want to, so if the tool is really simple, it is future proof, and that is really important. And we can always stack features on top of that, but the core should be very simple. So it should be just usable and in a very easy way.
exactly. Yeah. So I was working with one of our guys on Friday with it, and
Very cool.
really, I wanted to have a lot more collaboration sessions like we do at the beginning of all of these projects, is to really work collaboratively with people that are going to be performing the job, which I think the industry, we can say, was really missing, and why
Yeah,
event modeling exists. So it was good to practice what you preach.
and
Yeah.
I also like the idea of rethinking practices we've been using. Do we need arrows and stuff like that? I mean, I don't know. So I oftentimes also do not use arrows if we are very close in the timeline, then you don't need them. They might become more important if you use a remodel that is further to the right.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
but
Good
yeah,
point.
I really like the idea of just rethinking what is possible.
Yeah. Yeah, it's always good to tear things down and build them up again
Yes.
as you hit challenges in the way we work, and address them and see, ask fundamental uncomfortable questions. Is something that we've been using from the beginning actually in the way
Yeah.
and not actually helping? Was it there because it just got brought in by other practices or habits or comfort level of other tooling,
Yeah.
which then biases the whole thing, and it doesn't allow it to be the best tool. So I'm thinking back to when we went really fast with a few projects, and exactly, skipping the arrows was a big component. I always thought maybe this is something that you need to have a lot of event sourcing or event modeling experience to be able to make those shortcuts to go faster. And later on it can be a flip whether you want to show the arrows or not.
Yeah.
Big issue with this, of course, is the information completeness piece, because that's a major part of event modeling, is this ability to do the audit of your system to make sure that, hey, I'm not making stuff up from thin air. Requirements are fully there. And again, like FreeCAD, the constraints are there. I can move on to the next one. I don't know if you had a chance to look at FreeCAD since the
No,
last one.
no,
Probably not enough time and
not yet,
and,
no.
and all your other stuff, but I really like this mindset because it's very close to event modeling and event sourcing disciplines. Like if you're going to be doing this well, then this kind of responsible way of thinking about how design supports integrity in your system
Yeah.
is key. So yeah, but
Nice.
yeah, like
Yeah.
I said, I think I caught the bug from you from the uh, for the Raspberry Pi. I used to have a whole bunch. I think I still have them somewhere, but they're older ones. Now, for my home lab, I'm kind of taking a different approach from you, because I really like the low code, no code. Sorry, that's the wrong thing. Zero library approach, like
Yeah.
zero tech approach. We used to call it zero tech, which means, I don't want to bring in a library to do something quicker. I'd rather create my own, based on a standard library,
Yeah.
even though it may look a little anemic, doesn't have a lot of features, but I know I'm in full control.
Yeah.
So this mindset is interesting. And I had another project that I worked on yesterday that kind of exemplified this too, which I'll talk about. But yeah, so this idea about having the home lab and what you're doing with automation, you're using, I forget what the technology is you're using for your Raspberry Pi. What was it?
And N8N is the automation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what does it do? N8N, and I'll counter it with what I'm doing.
It's just basically you can it's like a DSL. You can define in a DSL what you want to do, and there's tons and tons of open source connectors. So, for example, you can say in this automation you want to send an email, and then you can just plug in an email provider, and it will send an email. And so you can basically configure your workflows like drag and drop. And that's really interesting, and also very compatible with event modeling, because
No, of course, these
you
things
can
are.
event model
You're
your
talking about workflow, right? So
exactly. It's
information
very
flow.
very compatible.
Yeah.
I even started to build a generator for that. So I have my N8N workflows, and I can generate event models from that, and vice versa, which is pretty
Yeah.
neat. Yeah.
So the way I see it is I don't focus on the tooling that gives you the drag and drop. I focus on the information.
Yeah.
So again, like event modeling, if I'm using my automated system and I want to say, hey, this plant needs some water, and I am shopping somewhere, I'm out, and I get an email saying, hey, your plants are dying. You haven't watered this yet, and it's been 3 days. I look at that and I ask myself, do I need something to drag and drop in there? With AI, I can make that process simpler. Now, the key feature here, I think, where you want to have something that's off the shelf maybe is when you need the rigor of having it really foolproof for public facing input of information and get hacked and you don't get abused and etc. But if I own the information, I know that I really don't need that. I can have a scripted token for Gmail or some other
Yeah.
thing, and I can tell AI, look, this directory is the inbox for the jobs that you need to do. I can just drop a file in there,
Yeah.
and I know it's done when it's no longer in the inbox.
Yeah.
It may generate an event, which in my case may be, a receipt of, hey, I did the thing, I sent this out. And just like in event modeling, that to-do list is really there. So
Yeah.
a lot of those things are, I've noticed that I've already made the mistake of allowing AI to give me an external library, and I'm already hitting that. That was yesterday, and it's a different project. So that I hope that makes sense in terms of like do it yourself totally, or use something off the shelf to
Yeah.
glue
Of
that,
course.
right? Because I'm working off event models, I know where everything is, so I'm not scared to not, to use something to custom build something.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are scared to do something themselves because they're like, oh my gosh, that's going to be so much code. I don't want to get lost in it. There'll be so many little details that'll throw me off. There'll be always, oh, do this, do that, but it affects this other thing in a negative way. I've lost that fear since event modeling. I know that every piece that I make, whether it's an email sending service or whatever, I have such a clear vision of the seam of that step, the
Yeah.
preconditions and the post conditions. It's crystal clear as to when that email sender is working or not.
Yeah.
And I know if it's not working, even if it is not working, I'm 100% happy with a drop in replacement. Hey, maybe I bit off something that I can't do and I have to put in something off the shelf. Maybe this drag and drop piece that you're talking about
Yeah.
that does this for you. I can do it. So I also know in the back of my mind, stronger than unit tests, I have a safety net to go and replace a component of my workflow quite easily. So that's worth its weight in gold, because also going through event modeling and event sourcing for so many years, regular projects become easier to actually accomplish. I'm accomplishing a lot more in fixing things around the house, doing other projects because of this ability to narrow your scope. And for someone with ADHD and things like that, that's really helpful.
Of course.
For someone with ADHD, I need to switch tasks quite a lot. I want to do this, but then I know that my mind will wander to something. So I need another place for it to wander that is also productive. It can be another bucket. But all those buckets have scope, so that when I'm in that bucket, it's 100% productivity. And all my mind needs is a change of subject,
Yeah.
and it still continues to move forward. Like, writing the book, for example. That's another outlet. I can write something for the book for a couple of hours, and then I got to go and program the Raspberry Pi and maybe make the sensor and maybe play with some resin, so it's
Yeah.
waterproof. Um, Things like that. And again, I can spend 2 hours there, but in that 2 hours, I've accomplished quite a lot.
Yeah.
And that so I think that's quite useful. And if people, especially for project management, when you're dealing with a lot of different personality types, the slice architecture, this idea that each step is something that is a project of its own, that has really, and especially if you're not doing something well, it's not impacting the budget, right? So I don't know. Does that make sense to you? How I'm not sure if it's affected your life the same way. I mean, people have told me that they've event modeled their wedding planning. So
I mean, the ability to work in these small increments is something that really changed my whole approach to projects, my whole approach how I approach anything, because you work in these small increments, and you can, as you say, you can switch tasks at will, and it doesn't really affect you. And this is really so helpful in building projects and anything to do. So yeah, I wouldn't miss that. I wouldn't want to miss that. And as you say, I don't even use event modeling only for projects. I do everything with it. So
yeah,
automations, but also my vacation, everything is event modeled.
I noticed a blog post, sorry, a LinkedIn post, I think, about that included event modeling, and they said, event modeling is good. I have like three things that I use. One of the core things is event modeling. Is their words. But I also use event storming for the first part, and I also use domain story mapping for another part.
Yeah,
And because they're very good at specific things,
yeah,
and that's not true entirely, because we don't use event storm because the brainstorming of the events is natural and is part of event modeling. So I don't need to say that I'm doing event storming when
yeah,
I'm doing a workshop and collaborating with others. So we don't do that. Domain storytelling, they said, is really for the flow of the process that's non-technical. So I think they have an idea that event modeling is only for the programming part, which it isn't. There's so many
yeah,
cases where I
yeah,
put events as real world happenings, actions by real people, that I don't need to go to a separate tool. And that's the whole point, is you find something so that it's really good and gets 80% of the work done in anything else. And the 20% gain that you might get for something specific is not worth the cost of coordinating another thing to manage, another gear in the machine. Remember,
yeah,
every gear introduces a little bit of friction. You can do this experiment with Lego. Just keep adding gears, even without shifting their power up or down. Just keep adding gears to one long block with the holes, and see how much harder the gears are able to turn, the more gears you add.
Yeah.
That's called friction. And so switching your mindset from different tools is that. So yeah, I don't know how I
It's
got
in,
into that
yeah,
side.
but I mean that's an interesting thing. It would be interesting to know how they use it, because if you use domain storytelling, I mean, in general, I like domain storytelling, but if you have event modeling, I don't see a specific reason why you would use both, because you can achieve both just using event modeling. So if you use domain
Exactly.
storytelling, you need to translate it at some point in time. Either you need to translate the domain story to event modeling, or vice versa. Typically you wouldn't use both, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, to me, it's keep it simple, right? And so
Yeah,
if I'm creating an organization, I don't want to make things unnecessarily complicated. I think the complication is a natural entropy of organizations where people have they bring in their best ideas, and you don't have equal goals from everyone. Right? There's no alignment, so that's why you have this proliferation of tools and practices, languages, etc. I like Ruby, I like Java, I like whatever, and
yeah,
then you either limit the pool of people you can work with, um, or you make a mess by having too many things, um, or you find something that's more unifying, that allows everyone to play but also share the vision. And I think that's what event modeling does. So
yeah,
like what we said earlier, keeping the core, as we're developing the tooling here, keeping the core really simple so that you can add whatever overlays you need. Like, hey, if I need a special character because I'm doing domain storytelling and I need an icon for an email being read, is that really a big deal that I have that icon in a domain story, or the little icon sits at the top where the UI sits in an event model? To me, that makes no difference.
no,
And same with value stream analysis and all that other stuff. I find I get that from event modeling.
yeah. I think really, I think what you say is true. I think that the reason why they do this is a fundamental misunderstanding, that event modeling is for implementation, which is really not the case. It's not the case. It's actually it's quite the opposite. So implementation is just a side effect.
Great benefactor.
Yeah, it's really. But I mean, I hear that a lot. Event modeling, you model, and then you implement it. It's fundamentally a tool to improve conversations in your enterprise. That's what event modeling is. And then by,
Yeah.
by by chance it maps quite well to implementation, but the fundamental thing is not implementation. So
Yeah. I mean, that's why I continue to um, choose to say that we're automating information systems rather than programming. I
yeah,
think programming, if you look at the Venn diagram of what I say, managing information systems over programming, the set of problems you solve that overlaps is, yeah, programming tasks. But there's a set of programming tasks that are entirely, like we've said many times before, are not about information flow. They're about solving an algorithm or something else. And also, there's the non-programming stuff, which is reading an email, walking over with a piece of paper to another office,
yeah,
delivering something by regular mail, whatever. Right? Event modeling has this idea that you know the most that you can, the best understanding that you have is understanding where information goes,
yes,
and then that you don't sweat the details. The details are important because implementing them costs money and all of that, and so that's why you can identify them and talk about them. This is why I see event modeling as a good value stream analysis. And it brings me to another point that I had another person talk about, um, how consultants are bad at explaining things, because they fall to this idea that if you can't explain something simply, you yourself don't understand it well. This is what the client would say to the consultant. So there's this idea that you can't win. You either look stupid because you're talking in a simple way, or you say this is a very complicated thing and you shouldn't concern yourself with, my consulting company will do it for you,
yeah.
which are horrible. It's a horrible
But yeah,
ultimatum that you
but I
give, right?
mean,
It's
that's
a false. I see it's a false dichotomy because the simplicity of event modeling allows you to teach by example, right? So the idea was difficulty in explaining concepts. I think that's what the person said. It's very hard to explain concepts. And how do you explain things? I see that the clearest way to explain things is by example. And guess what event modeling is built upon? Examples.
It's all examples. Yeah.
Right. So I
Examples
don't, I
everywhere.
interrupted you there. So you had an idea.
Um, I forgot it. I forgot.
Okay. Maybe I said it by accident. But that was, I think it was one of the agile consulting folks from
Oh
Seattle
yeah,
that I
that
always go back and forth. Al Shalloway, I think his name is. He's a big agile consultant down in Seattle, I think. Well,
yeah.
I'll say lower case a agile, because there's this whole idea about you're doing agile wrong, and he's like right in the middle of arguing that all day long for years. So
But yeah,
it's always fun to jump in there and see how things are going in that end.
yeah. What I wanted to say is that I'm no almost no consulting company that tries to explain things in a simple way. They all try to be as complicated as possible to just bill as much as possible. So
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's what,
Yeah.
what business typically
And
is.
the industry's fallen for it. It's almost like if you say that it's not like that, like you're looked like you're incompetent and that you're fooling yourself and sending someone down a garden path to disaster.
Yeah,
That's why we said we will fix bugs for free and we'll do fixed costs per that. So to say, like, there's no way, if we're wrong, we're out of business. Like, it's literally that we put a gun to our heads and we know that the barrel chambers are empty. We're so confident that we'll just walk like that for years.
yeah.
That's trusting the process from a very morbid perspective.
Yeah, but I mean, the last few years proved that it works, right? I mean,
Few years, it's been 10 for us, right?
yeah.
So
For me, it's not quite 10, but
well, I think personally, it's worked for me since 2008. Like 2009 was the
yeah,
first production project that was done using this. Now, mind you, event modeling wasn't complete then. It certainly hadn't managed to put the UI pieces in. I think that history of event modeling, the UI pieces made it into the event model around 2015, simply because, like I said, the need to have a complete set of information for complete requirements as a small consulting company that couldn't afford all of the different roles to manage a project, like designers, project managers, etc. All those things, again, naturally fell into what we now call event modeling. I had no idea that I had something that was unique in the approach. But yeah, I hope that
the
makes sense.
yeah the I had this on Friday again. The UI part is such a crucial thing. What I did is I sat down with a lawyer. We have this platform that we built. I sat down with a lawyer. We discussed a new feature, and without the UI part, it would have been impossible to discuss this feature that he wanted. Using the UI, it was so simple.
Yeah.
30 minutes, we sketched a few screens. It was absolutely clear what he wants. I understood it immediately. So it was very, very clear, very simple. And end of the day, the thing was done. So we sketched a new requirement, and the end of the day, everything was implemented. It was very, very simple. And by the way, that was a feature that would have been impossible, almost impossible to build if it wasn't event sourcing. The feature was in this platform, you can register new companies. So if you have a company, you can register new companies and stuff like that. But what they now need is basically a ledger of what happened for your company. Every single thing you did. Oh, you registered a new clerk here. You need a new entry in your table, and they need this since the beginning of the company.
Yeah.
Without event sourcing, no way to implement this. With event sourcing, it was just easy. Almost nothing.
It goes to the question of record keeping and exactly
Exactly. Yeah.
how information systems used to be and how reliable information systems need to be. If you need your information system to be reliable, you need the audit, and the only honest audit is if that ledger is the source of truth.
Yes.
I mean, if you say no to that, then you're fooling yourself, because you just added a leak to what trust you can have. You can't walk with that gun pointed at your head. There may be a bullet in one of the chambers.
And you know what we did? We sketched a screen. Okay, it would look like this in the application. And then we literally walked the event model from left to right. And we defined for each and every event, is this something you need in this overview? Yes. And then you just link it to the projection. That's all we
Yeah.
did. And the implementation was nothing. It was
Yeah.
just
Simple.
amazing.
Yeah.
Just amazing how well that works.
Yeah. And so, on another topic, I've made a, because of my ADHD tendencies, the propensity to get bored easily. I think that I found the issue that has been haunting me my whole life is that I get bored extremely easily. That doesn't mean that I'm lazy. I want to sit and do nothing. It just means that the task that I'm on is extremely boring all of a sudden, and I need to switch.
Yeah.
Um, and so I've tried, Pomodoro techniques to brutally, just use brute force to get through a day
Yeah.
um, at regular jobs and things like that. And it's kind of like a band aid to this problem. I think just switching tasks whenever you feel like it, but having the scope, like I said earlier, is done like is something that keeps you in focus. So I decided to have a few things that I want to do over the weekends um, to just be more in touch with the technical side, like making these sensors, but also the engineering side. Since we talk about how programming all of a sudden is so different than engineering because it's just flipping bits, and I find that to be the biggest lie, because things cost money. They're just directly translated in time in front of the screen instead of
Yeah.
materials, and it's the same thing. So I decided that I need to walk the walk and build more physical things. And so I ordered some balsa wood pieces. You can cut them with X-Acto knife, so you can make a model of what you're doing.
Nice.
Some resins, some UV set resins, so you can do a project very quickly. Some CA glue, which is amazing for wood. It makes incredibly strong joints.
Yeah.
Little portable. Everything's portable because I'm in an apartment. So I have a spot welder that I ordered that's tiny. It runs on batteries, so you just have these little probes, and you can get nickel, and you can spot weld things to a battery, a small wire to something, where soldering doesn't work. And of course, it'll be with a spot welder that it can withstand more heat, so your solder won't melt.
Yeah.
Um, these little projects are quite good, and I think having the physical world will kind of allow me to uh, have better personal experience walking the walk when we're saying that physical engineering is exactly like software engineering, where we're building steps, these components, these things behind us. And really, when we think about these deliverables as being almost like physical pieces in a real engineering system, you know, I think I need that in my life to do that. So those are interesting things. Also, one of the other passions I have is the mathematics and financial markets and statistics and things like that I've been working with. So last night was another. Well, I think the whole day I've been under the weather for the last couple of days, so I really didn't have energy to really get up and all that. I just have enough energy to go take the dog for a walk and
Hmm.
cook some stuff, and I just had no physical energy to get up. So laptop in my lap. I was able to, in one day, create an options chain analyzer that I was the basis of my startup back in 2000,
Nice.
1999, and just
Yeah.
with all the AI tooling, it was quite good. I mean, I and Gemini's been absolutely incredible for a lot of the stuff. I simply asked, I need to find me a data provider for option chains, and I want to do this. It just gives me the code. I put that code. I can see it work in the canvas, but I can copy the code, put it into Cursor AI, start adding events in there about when data's downloaded, about when you're walking through something, that something was encountered, a certain situation. So the reason that event modeling and event sourcing is so core to financial systems is that you have multiple states you need to track
Yeah.
all the time. Things aren't as easy as I have. 5 indicators that are all flashing green and I can go and execute a trade. It's not that simple.
If it was that simple, everybody
Yeah,
would.
you have to have, you need to move from different, like a workflow. You need to go through, okay, we are in this type of market. Okay, if we're in this type of market, we have this thing going on with a trend, we have this thing with support levels, we have this thing on the order book, we have this thing which is an arbitrage situation, which is really missing. I think a lot of the pieces out there are missing. Like I can't overlay easily the price chart of multiple strike prices on the option chain on a symbol over one another to visually inspect discrepancies and understand which trades have a higher probability because I'm working on top of um, a discrepancy that's inherent there. But I might want to care why the discrepancy is there, or I might not. Sometimes, depending what you're dealing with, maybe if it's a security for a single company, it might be relevant to pay attention to why the discrepancy is there, versus something like an index. That may just be an inefficiency for very good reasons. It might be something related to oil prices right now. That's what's happening with Venezuela and all this. Um, who knows? But what my point is that this is not something that is, the simple thing that, but maybe this is why most people fail at trading, is that they listen to the advice, keep things simple. And when things are complicated, they don't have the mindset of a time lapse of occurrences that, this has happened. The news, the imbalances in the market, all these different factors don't just are not a snapshot.
Yeah.
So for fintech, for anything to do with risk, you need the timeline, you need time, you need accountability, you need all those things. And so, yeah, in one day, I can put in a ticker and it'll show me what the options were that day, a table down below. If you picked any particular strike price, what your profit or loss would be if you sold at any part of the day. You can see this in a beautiful grid scroll wheel up and down on the time that you would have bought during the day.
Yeah.
Changes the table, shrinks it up and down. All the percentages change perfectly.
Nice. Well, build that without
Adding
AI.
caching so that you're not killing the API for your provider
Yeah.
2 seconds, right? All of these, why? All of these things are steps in the process. All of these things are a slice on an
Yeah.
event model for it, right? The event model that's
Lovely.
sitting beside it
Yeah.
shows exactly what to do, right? And when I'm prompting, I'm again taking a picture, or in this case, I'm just selecting the JSON representation of the event model and putting it into Cursor, and like that, no hallucinations. I get exactly what I want.
Yes.
It's incredible. I will say that for the esoteric stuff, like finding out how the API works on a particular provider, I think Gemini is better than whatever Cursor is choosing to use.
Mm.
I think even Gemini is a choice for its agents to say, use this LLM. But I think it makes wrong choices a lot of times. So I'm going to start to see if I can, for those other problems that are not within the domain of my own system, I'm going to see if I can get some ways to improve that in there. But anyway, that was yesterday. That was one day, and I built the entire startup I was doing in 2000
Yeah. Try to do that without try
in
to do
one
that
day.
without AI. It would have
Yeah,
taken weeks. Weeks.
yeah. I mean, I'd still be fidgeting with some stuff
Yeah.
today and tomorrow. Maybe not as. I mean, I like this domain, so I don't think it would be as big of an inefficiency. Again, I've done so much of this automation for financial systems, especially trading systems, for all the way to the 90s. So it's not something that I'm unfamiliar with. What would make without AI, the stumbling block would be the syntax for JavaScript. I
Yeah.
use JavaScript because I know I can just have this implemented as a web page. I specifically do things client side only so that I have no deployment issues. I don't want any other things. I can always put in a back end if I need to expose it publicly and people have to buy tokens for doing this or whatever, or credits. Like if I'm going to make this as a financial service for people to use to
Yeah.
help their trading, I obviously need to have them pay, because I'm not going to pay for the API myself, and for compensating myself for whatever requests the customers have to build new features and all that. So
Yeah.
anyway, it was just that was just kind of a story of your mindset may be really focused and you're disciplined and you're fine, but you may have ADHD or boredom, uh, kind of hide as ADHD. And I think that event modeling and event sourcing gives you those um, dopamine hits that you get through productivity by creating something. I think a lot of us are in this industry because this is a very good feeling for us to create something, to help someone, to do something, to take raw ingredients and create something that's got greater value than just the sum of the parts.
Yeah.
I think this is a very satisfactory thing. I think as a social beings, um, being useful, as Arnold Schwarzenegger used to say, just be useful. I don't know if you saw Arnold Schwarzenegger's documentary
I
about
did.
him.
I did.
So his dad used to say, just be useful.
Yeah.
If that's one thing you do, just be useful. And so I think if you can do the bare minimum, being useful in society, but also create better, bigger things, then I think you also get a well-deserved feedback loop of feeling good about what you're doing.
Yeah, and I mean I think that's really kind of addictive to work like that, because you get these small dopamine hits all the time when you work with slices. It's very different to the traditional way of working.
Yeah, with
I,
no end in sight. It's almost
yes,
like you're working in an opposite stress. You're receiving stress because it's almost like addictive stuff like cigarettes. So people don't crave nicotine. Their body goes through withdrawal that they need nicotine.
yeah,
It's this sort of negative feedback as well for traditional work. It's the stress of not being done by the day. It's like, what am I going to say at the stand up tomorrow? It's like, oh my God, it's this horrible feeling.
yeah,
You want the opposite side of that. You want to be walking the entire opposite side of that feedback mechanism. You want it to be, the fear to me now is because we can't get rid of fear. We're always fearful of something. It's a spectrum. It's just a relative thing. So there's always fear driving us. So what are we fearful of now that we're working with event modeling and event sourcing? Well, first of all, we're fearful that others don't get it and don't want to
well,
work
yeah,
with us that way yet because they're too used to doing things traditionally. But personally, the fear, I think, is that I'm not working in that good way. And I'm fearful that, I don't know, are you fearful of anything? Like,
no,
what is the,
no, not really. So it's
you're lying. Everyone's fearful of something.
the I've never been so
There's
calm.
always a negative. There's always a negative incentive to everything. We just have
Maybe,
we have a relative shift. Like you can work in a really really nasty environment and still find some joy because you find things that are less painful, which is a horrible way to think about it. But all we're doing is shifting things to mentally having more positive things that we're working with. But there's a meta level fear that you're regressing to something you don't want to work in. I don't know.
maybe,
Does that make
maybe,
sense?
yeah, maybe, but I can really say since I've started really working with event modeling, I've never been so calm, so calm, so relaxed. There is no stress in my daily work. Um, I don't. So I'm not really fearful of anything in the projects. Nothing. So whatever comes my way, I can handle it. I can deal with it. It's absolutely nothing I'm fearful of. A few years ago, my biggest fear was always, what if this one requirement comes? This one requirement that simply doesn't fit the architecture. What
And you
should I
get stuck
do?
with it, and you have
Yes,
you have nothing to say for it. You lied
nothing
to
to say.
someone because you didn't have enough information.
The only thing I can say to my customers, I cannot build this. If we build this, either we need to restructure everything or we simply cannot do it. This was my biggest fear, but this is gone. This simply cannot happen anymore. In a project built with event modeling, built with slices, this is simply not available. This is not, will never ever happen because we can deal with anything that comes my way.
Yeah, yeah.
And
It's a much nicer way to have that. I mean, me too. And I think I speak for our whole organization that whenever we have projects, I don't think anyone is uh, really also having any of these fears because they know that they're going to get paid. They know that if they work slowly, they're going to get paid less. They know that if they work more, they'll get paid more. And like I said before, one of our guys worked so much 1 month because he was so incentivized that he created a paycheck for himself that's the largest that I've ever seen for someone programming. And I wrote that check to him for that work because he managed to finish so much in add so much value in 1 month that I would say, uh, compared to other people, he might have made 2 to 3 times as much as someone working a full year.
yeah,
And you get that with this way of working. And if you try to translate this to the physical world and other jobs, if you're, let's say that, take the stupid example we keep using about building a wall for a fixed price. Well, if you have expertise in it and you pre-packaged your bricks for future work because you know this works so well, and you maybe even laid out pieces of concrete that's still not set and liquid, and you manage to figure out a system that allows you to build this wall in 1 hour, whereas it takes most everyone else in the industry a whole day to build that wall. You can build 10 walls in a day. And so you will make 10 times as much as someone else in the same industry. Is that unfair?
no,
Exactly.
no, it isn't.
So,
So it's justified because you not only get your wall quicker. Uh, I mean, it's
you
you see
almost should, they should even charge more because they got it quicker, right?
exactly. That's what I wanted to say.
Yeah.
It's even worth
So it's
more.
not times 10, it's times 20 now that you make.
Yes, and then, I mean, if your employee achieved so much in 1 month, nobody is asking, is this justified? You just look at, okay, he built that many slices. That's the money you get.
Yeah.
Period.
Did they work? Did they say that they will fix any deficiencies
Yeah.
if the requirement got missed? Yeah, they're going to do that.
So you will happily write any check because you
I
know.
happily did.
Yes,
I happily did.
and
Yeah, exactly.
I would also.
And I had no fear. Since we're talking about fear, um, I had no fear in their work.
Yeah.
I had no fear in saying that, yeah, these are done. I had no fear of someone asking me, well, who did this work or whatever. One of the nice things about this is that the clients stop caring about, oh, did this consultant work on this or this consultant work on this? It just doesn't matter, which is so
Yeah.
good to get rid of that subjectivity. We touch on this point often in these podcasts, but it's important to bring it up again because on the subject of fear, it's quite. I think if you've been in the industry, it's driven by that. It's driven by the stand-ups of why is that? Well, I have a family. I can't really learn the new framework that we adopted because someone went to a conference and they were using Vue.js instead of React or whatever it is, right? And now I'm behind the 8 ball to catch up on this. Everyone else is young. They're 26. They don't have families to go back to. So they can spend, 16 hours both at work and catching up on this. And I can't. So I'm going to fall behind. Not only that, but that's going to actually jeopardize either my income level or my job itself, right? So that's a fear. Now we have people fearing AI is going to take my job and all that. Like I've like you said, like I'm not fearful. What I'm getting at is there a fear at a higher level? Are we fearful of not being as good at the thing that we like? Are we fearful of not being able to explain this to people as well as we could? What are the new fears? Because there's always fear.
Yeah. Maybe I need to figure that out. What's the new fear? So right now I couldn't.
Yeah, I know. And I mean, once in 2015, once I started working at like this at scale, it was it was nothing but fearlessness. It was like everything is like every day the situation gets better. Every project is so much better than anything else I've ever done before.
Yeah.
It's just always working in a, no fear of the new framework, right? It's like I think a lot. I think even before this, you know, I would say that at the time that I was starting event sourcing, the whole Ruby on Rails fad started coming up, and so then if you weren't able to slap together a CRUD app in like 3 seconds, you were looked at like as old and out of touch or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And I'm all for automation and all that kind of stuff, but it was that's I think what really started the whole web first um, way of developing, which is great. But then the proliferation of the frameworks, all trying to one up each other for whatever the previous one exposed as a weakness to then address it in the next one, and just continue the cycle. And from 2010 to 2020, how many, through Backbone JS, through I can't even remember the names of all
Me
the stuff:
neither.
Angular, React, Vue, Next, blah, and go back to how many were there. That's
Oh,
insane,
infinite,
right?
infinite.
um, and if you don't have the time to swim at that point in the tech stack explanations and tutorials and whatever, and have no life, it's like you felt fearful, right? um,
And I mean, if you look at my projects, they are very simple. My tool chain is very simple. I have 5 tools which I build, which I use to build my projects, and these 5 tools work in every project. And I'm
yeah,
very, very
well, you're on
hesitant.
the Java stack, right? So
Yes,
you have Spring Boot, right?
exactly.
Yeah,
Just a handful of frameworks, but
yeah.
it's really, really simple. If you look at my tech stack, you
It's
think,
rinse
oh,
repeat, right? Every slice is the same. It's the same thing.
yes,
Like, it's not a
yes.
surprise. Yeah,
Why would I add something that makes it more complicated? I just need these
yeah,
5 tools and everything. Everything is just another slice. Why would I make it more complicated? But if you
yeah.
look at the tech stack, if one of those hipsters looks at my tech stack, everybody would say, "Oh, that's quite boring." And exactly, that's the point. It's
The
boring.
boring stack. I mean,
Yes.
I like that. I think someone else was, I forget who said the boring stack, but it's the same with us. I mean, I made the choice in 2015 when we were actually, this was not alone. That was with Nicola, about, what will our platform be. And I didn't want to be biased by the fact that I was proficient in .NET and C Sharp. And of course, all this going back to the history of Event Store DB
Yeah.
being .NET based, that would have been the natural thing. And I think a lot of people that took on event sourcing um, got stuck in .NET in the Microsoft world. They weren't able to take that opportunity to jump to something else. And what did I see that was more prevalent? It was, well, JavaScript's everywhere. Like, you can't escape JavaScript.
Yeah.
So I made a conscious decision that, for better or for worse, Node is there. So we have, you know, the back end and the front end. We can use JavaScript. Um, what is out there for databases? We will need databases. I mean, now I'm of the opinion that we don't. We can do file based only for really large projects, actually infinitely large. I believe that that's the future. But at the time, it's Postgres, and we still use Postgres as that. So,
Yeah.
our
So do I.
stack is Event Store DB with Postgres for the read models, Node.js on the back end, just JavaScript on the front end. But we've adopted TypeScript because of the requirements for a lot of financial institutions. They want TypeScript, and TypeScript for the type safety, and just, I guess, people are just fearful of, speaking of fear, of JavaScript's craziness. So,
Yeah.
rightfully so. Um, yeah, so it's very simple. Like what I named, like 3-4 things, right?
Yeah.
Same with you.
I mean,
Um,
we have very similar tech stacks. Just to,
yeah,
I'm on Java, you're on Node, but in
yeah.
general, I think
But
it's
we're
quite,
not only on that. I mean, we've had to take other stacks from other clients.
of
Like, we
course, of
have a
course,
.NET implementation, and we wrote the Go drivers for Event Store DB when there was no Go application. I'm saying we. I'm saying Nicola did. Whenever I
yeah.
say we as a company, it's usually Nicola. So,
Of course, I mean, of course, I also do other tech stacks, but I think it's quite telling that we both came to the conclusion that it's quite a good thing to keep things very simple and not
Yeah,
add.
exactly. Because I mean, it gets to the point where when a client says, "Hey, we need an Android app," or "We need this weird esoteric kiosk software or something that we're using," we say, "Okay, no problem. How big is the project?" We have to see the event model to then say, "Can we absorb the learning of this thing? Of course, is this going to be something that everyone else is going to be happy to have experience with? Because
Yeah,
maybe it's something so esoteric that, like, you know what, we're just going to have to pay people extra for learning some of this stuff." But that's never really happened. I thought that it might happen, but it hasn't. I think everything that customers have asked for us in terms of what stacks they are using and for us to use their stacks, we've been happily to the people that work through Adaptec are happy to say that, yeah, I would like that experience. And of course, the client is more than willing to bet on us because we have the fixed cost, so that whatever inefficiencies in what they want happens, they know they're not going to pay extra.
yeah,
Like if some other consultancy comes in and says, well, we bill by the hour, they're hesitant unless every single one of those people has experience in what they're using. With us, they don't care because, first of all, they might actually get a better third person point of view perspective about how their stack doesn't align well with automating.
yeah,
Um, and it might give them some answers too about, well, maybe our onboardings for our regular employees is not ideal because we're getting these questions from these people that actually have a lot of experience with other technologies. Maybe we're not addressing our deficiencies in terms of our onboarding well enough. We're just, you know, getting some yes answers for the people that are afraid to um, question what we're doing because they don't have the job yet, so they won't question
yeah,
us. They just want the job.
yeah.
So yeah, it's pretty neat to have that freedom. So yeah, operating without fear is great. And so I personally think that the fear is shifted, and it's shifted up an abstraction layer where we're fearful of people um, not getting the right message about event modeling. Like, this one person that posted about, having three things, event modeling being the middle one that does the implementation well. It's like, no, it actually does the whole thing well. And we've done that. And there's a trade off of having three tools versus one. And
Of course.
yes, you might get some efficiencies, and maybe it's a preference thing. Maybe people just, they read the book about domain storytelling and they're just in love with it. Just like people read the domain driven design book and they fell in love with it and they want to do a domain driven design. Sure. That's fine. So there may be non technical or process reasons for needing to do more things. But
Yeah,
when you look at it, it's, to me, the trade off is not good enough to have too many specialized tools. And if you can do everything with one tool, then that's better. I mean, I bought some wire strippers for the ends of wires, right? And I bought something that does just wire stripping, but then I saw something better that does the wire stripping, bending into hooks, and um, well, has a whole bunch of other little things on it. And it's like, okay, well, I don't have, I can put these on marketplace, sell them, or give them away to my parents or someone else, and keep this one tool.
yeah,
Now I can fit more things. So even my apartment is kind of a test in the physical world. What I was talking about, event modeling being the Swiss Army knife that does a lot of things, I need to do that too. And I think last time I mentioned that, well, I have a multimeter that's also an oscilloscope and it's tiny.
yeah,
Why would I have an oscilloscope this big and another multimeter on the side if I can just have one that does both?
yeah,
Right? Sure, people can say, well, if you're doing high frequency circuits, you need this oscilloscope that's got, the really sensitive stuff to get the sine waves that are quite close and really high frequencies. It's like, look, I'm not debugging CPUs. I'm doing a do it yourself at
yeah.
home projects
It's all about context.
with high frequencies, relatively speaking, to computers of what's going to happen in anything. I don't need it, right? And I think that's a good parallel, is that, like, you don't need this stuff. most information systems are moving information from one place to another, kicking the ball down one extra step all the time. Like you said, all these problems are things we've done before already, right?
Yes.
Like we're just repeating the same thing. I think we had that discussion last time.
Yeah.
But this idea of tooling, I have to do that too. I'm like, do I need a tool, or can I find one that does it as well, right? And so traveling light is good. And so living in a smaller space, wanting to do what people do in a large space, is testing that. So there's many little things that are in parallel to event modeling and event sourcing that's happening in my regular life as
Yes.
well.
Mine
And
as
it's
well.
nice if you can find
Yeah.
the overlap, because then you get benefits to both your personal and your work life.
Yeah. True.
So anything else that you were working on
Yeah,
besides
there is
roadblocks?
not.
Did you finish the roadblocks
Oh,
thing?
exactly.
Yeah,
That's the last thing I want to discuss today. Guess what happened? Guess what happened? We
it
hit
went
the
viral. You guys are
no,
millionaires.
no. We we hit the ceiling. We hit the ceiling. I mean, what we are basically what we were doing is so. If you didn't listen, I'm building a Roblox game with my son. That was our vacation project, and we made good progress. But now we hit a ceiling because we were basically vibe coding the whole thing. And now, as we added more and more logic, it doesn't work anymore. We just hit the
Ah,
we just hit the ceiling. So every time we do something, something else breaks. So today we wanted to add new figures, and it simply everything fell apart. So it simply doesn't work. It's
it's an important lesson for children to learn when they get into the real world. That
yes, absolutely.
you can't topple. Keep your room clean. Eventually, you'll learn, whether it's in college or later.
Yeah. I mean, but it's the typical story of every vibe coding project. You make good progress in the beginning. It feels good. It feels great, but sooner or later you hit the ceiling, and then it gets really, really complicated. And if you don't have a plan for that,
Yeah,
it's really hard. And the problem is, it's really hard to structure code in Roblox. It's really not meant for that. It's just scripts lying around everywhere. Maybe I need to figure out how to do that better. But we just wanted to make good progress, and now we really hit a ceiling, and it doesn't work anymore.
yeah.
So we need to take a few steps back and maybe restructure a few things. But
I mean, it's simple. We already have the steps for these problems, and you basically treat your vibe coded solution as a um, as a legacy project.
yes,
And
exactly,
the simplest, once you vibe coded your way to this place, which you will get to the point where, okay, every prompt that I throw at it is causing an issue somewhere else, and
exactly.
you need
That's what
you need
happened.
these discrete steps. You need this level. So you need to throw away the mess. Now, once you've taken well, maybe just record the game being played, right, of where you got to right now, and then take pause the video at each thing, each action that's happening, and to make an example and make those workflows, and then reverse engineer from all of your screen captures what data is being stored, what projection is being needed at each step, and then what you throw into the code at first is all the events and all of the projections, the state views, their schemas and structures, and then you throw in all the workflows, um, and then you ask the AI, complete this, and
Yeah.
then complete that, and then complete this, and continue to monitor that. And only after you've done that can you ask for the next feature, because what you've done at that point is ensured open close principle. In fact, you can be quite militant later, once you've done this process, to say, don't change any other code. And at least with Cursor AI, you can see that it's trying to change this other, piece of the workflow, this other slice. And you say, nah, not going to happen.
Yeah.
Try again. You're touching this. And if it truly can, it'll tell you, like, well, I need this. Okay, so maybe there is a logical reason why your design is not sufficient to carry out the subsequent feature. But that's something that's telling you you need to go back and redesign and still test everything that's happening there, whether it's testing manually or whatever. I don't mind testing manually because once I freeze a feature and an actual slice, I know it's not going to change. So I don't have to swim through the red green refactor cycle to manage all these tests and waste extra time. I know that it has OCP, so I don't need the unit test there because that
Yeah.
slice is not changing. I'm not changing it. We're actually, the refactoring is more of a gatekeeper for change now. Like, why are you changing something that already worked? Don't just change it because refactoring is great. BS. Ask why the hell do you need to change something that already worked? This should be a red flag. And the
Yeah.
whole industry is built on ignoring red flags and saying, oh, no, just keep going. Test bed, whole test, unit test will save you. It's another lesson to learn, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not afraid of redoing it because, as I said, we started with event modeling and I kept the event model up to date. So we have basically a full event model, what the game should do, how it
Oh, good.
works.
So you have one.
Yeah, of course we have one.
Oh, okay, good.
The problem is just we went really fast.
Did he accept that the boring thing he didn't want to do, he has to do now?
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, what we right now have is it's just a bunch of big scripts. So we just added on top of those scripts exactly as you say, and it's basically there is no concept of a slice, no concept of modules in there. It's just big scripts and roadblocks.
Yeah.
And maybe there is a better way to structure code. I just didn't. I didn't invest any time.
If you don't have to, I mean, I like for the structure of the financial application I made yesterday, it didn't have slices, but it has in comments areas of code that I know
which is the same
are a slice.
Yeah, which can be the same.
And when I see the next prompt trying to change this code, I'm like, no, try again.
Yeah.
You shouldn't need to look at any of this. And a lot of times the AI will like, oh, I'm just going to improve the structure of this other stuff. It's like, why? Like it's renaming a function name for some reason. I'm like, I didn't ask for that.
Yeah.
Even though that wouldn't have, broken things, just simple function rename. I might let that slide, but I don't want it to do that. So, one of the rules that I have in my cursor rules for user is do not change other functionality unless you absolutely have to.
Yeah.
And don't be this thing that keeps cleaning stuff up as it wanders through the code base. Like, oh, I could also do this for you. Like, don't be helpful. You're just like disturbing stuff that already works. Don't touch it.
I will take this as a small exercise. So I will redo the game without my son. So we achieved our goal. It's playable, and he played it.
Oh, good.
It's playable, and it does exactly what we wanted. So I will redo the game, and I will see how fast I can get something really good based on the event model. Let's see what happens.
Can you record a little demo of your game?
Yeah, I can, of course.
Oh, awesome. Okay. Well, we're going to have to revisit this topic, and we're going to have to splice in a little screencast as we talk about it.
I will. Yeah, let's do that.
That'll be fun.
Yeah.
I like this. We're getting into some interesting stuff in this podcast. So always a pleasure. I guess we've burnt through an hour like that. It's always exciting talking to you. So
yeah. And it's always an hour. I mean, we didn't have any preparation, nothing. This was again just having a conversation.
Our lives are so full that we always have things to talk about, Martin.
Yeah, it seems so, which is good. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, be useful, be busy.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Martin, this has been amazing. Again, a note to people that if you have the means, please donate to the cause for Martin's neighborhood situation there, and we'll definitely keep you guys posted on how things are going. I think the goal will be reached very shortly. Just
yes, I'm very
amazing outpouring of people's support and help and all that. So wonderful that those businesses also locally are donating their goods and services.
Yes,
that's
yes,
amazing.
That's really these local businesses. So these kids can go to eat there for free.
Yeah.
for the
Yeah.
next few years, as often as they want. That is amazing. That's really just amazing. I
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
like that.
I think after the reality of this, they think they'll be really good people and citizens. I mean, seeing something so good happen in society and community is going to be very good for their lives. So
Yes.
I'm really happy to be able to help out, and during the year, I think we'll have more opportunities to help them. And should anything else happen in our communities, we'll be able to do more. So very happy about that. And so, Martin, I wish you a really good week, and I'm going to
Same for you.
continue on with we'll definitely be meeting about the stack that we're the event modeling tool that we're meeting. So next steps obviously will be moving all the Miro implementation that you've done into an equivalent into. I mean, Nickel has already done that with a proof of concept, but we want the polished side, which other people are working on, to also have the same thing. And
Yeah.
yeah, that was a lot of fun to work on. So I'm looking forward to to getting that released as well, and the book. It's
Yes.
going to be an amazing year. I'm really looking forward to it. So, all right, Martin, have a
Great.
wonderful week,
Yes, you too.
and we'll see everyone here again
Exactly. All right.
next week. Bye,
Take care.
everyone.
Bye bye.